Hey you guys, I want to do some spooky and personal paranormal and haunting stories of mine for the Halloween season. Of course, it's kind of what my channel is going to have a lot to do with anyway, but it's the perfect time here to talk about it. I was thinking, do I want to do just ghost stories or do I really want to go through everything kind of? And I was like, probably can't do chronological order perfectly because I'll probably forget something. I have to go back some other time later. But I want to do little short videos and maybe include a few things each time. The first kind of strange thing I can remember, I was probably about 3 years old, and I lived in Morgan City. That's a little town in southern Louisiana. It is dredged up mud. It's actually like swamp. It was built with just swamp mud. So it's definitely a Cajun area. I was a little girl in the backyard by myself. Strange, I guess, to leave a kid that little alone, but it was different in those days. I was in like diapers or panties or something because that's all I had on. Back then, I walked around barefoot, nothing but that. And I had seen this crow on the ground and I walked up to it. And I remember being young enough where I felt more like a waddle, like waddling up to this crow. And anyway, it didn't fly away. It actually just stayed there. And I just remember getting up close to it and touching its pretty little black feet. And it's black. I just couldn't get over how black everything was. The feet were so shiny, the beak, it was so beautiful. I have loved animals my whole life, but I just fell in love with it right away. And I was just touching its little feet and telling you how beautiful you were. Oh, what a pretty crow. And I just loved on it. And I actually was going to give it a big hug, but I just knew, even at that age, to be real gentle because of feathers. So I reached around and I hugged it real gentle. And right about that time, my mom came running out screaming bloody murder, and the crow flew away. And anyway, her reasoning is like no bird will let you touch it unless it's diseased or dying or something. And I didn't know this until recently, but I realized it was probably Morgan initiating me. I am like completely Celtic and Northwestern European. So I've got more Irish than anything than Scottish, and then some Wales, British, and Scandinavian, Denmark, and Norway. Yeah, I actually knew about the Norwegian for a long time because they're supposedly related to this Viking person, but that's another story. But anyway, I know that I have always had deep like roots into that, and come on, I lived in Morgan City and I have a crow visit me as a baby. I have been through the ringer, I'm telling you. I have my ascendant is Scorpio with Pluto in the 12th house. So it's like the ruling planet is in the 12th house. This is how strange it is. Anyone with an ascendant Pluto in the 12th house, we usually have like supposedly chosen to come in an incarnation that is extremely difficult so that we can become healers, shamans, medicine people, things along those lines. A lot of people with Pluto in the 12th house, if they're not spiritual, end up being like detectives, social workers, nurses, working in very high stress environments. I have gone through quite a bit of trauma. I'm a spoonie, and it has nothing to do with, anything physical as much as just having fight or flight in me for years and years. Even though I've gotten myself into a better place, it's crazy what I've been through. And I had read how some people say that, if she initiates you, you're going to expect to spill blood, whether spiritual or physical, of your own. It makes a lot of sense with what I've gone through. People with Pluto in the 12th house and their ascendant, also we transmute people's bad juju. Like, sick people are drawn to us. It doesn't matter how high our vibration is. People that are bad like want to dump their loads on us so that we can transmute their negative energy. But anyway, that's not a ghost story, so I'll just move on from that for now and tell you my first ghost that I remember. seeing. And that was when we lived in New Orleans. Technically, we lived in Slidell, which, as you know, if you live in New Orleans, sometimes they make fun of us across the lake. Um, but uh, I was little. I didn't know any different, you know. I was about 7 or 8. Um, my dad worked in downtown New Orleans at the time. Uh, this house, I can't even tell you the road it was on. I'm not gonna tell you a specific house, but it's on Rue de Zure. And my best friend lived on Rue Esplanade. Um, and one night I was brushing my teeth. Looked, okay, the mirror in the bathroom reflected to this giant mirror in the dining room. And as I looked in that mirror, it bounced back into the dining room and I could see in there, and I saw this beautiful woman floating above the ground. And she had this long nightgown. It kind of looked like something women would have worn to sleep in like 100, 200 years ago, you know. And she had long wavy hair. And I didn't know this, but this is how I see ghosts a lot now. Like, I see them clear with a color. Like, maybe it's their aura. She was blue. I call her the blue ghost. She was white and blue layers, electric color. Gorgeous, stunning woman. And I just sat there staring and was just stunned and amazed. And then I was like, I want to see her for real. So I turned around to look, and she was gone. I looked back in the mirror and she was gone. I was so sad. I was like, why did I take my eyes off of her, you know? And then I looked and I saw like toothpaste dribbling down my mouth. I'm like, dang it, she's going to think I'm such a nerd. You know, I want her to like me. Like, I always like, you know, a lot of people, there's so many people that are like, every ghost is a demon and all this stuff. And I've always felt like, you know, you're discriminating against something you don't understand, you know? Like, it even tells you in the Bible that only brute animals make fun of or slander celestial beings and things they don't understand. But, you know, you have those weird people that everything's evil, that they don't understand. I never felt that way, you know. I always kind of felt like I want to respect what I don't fully know. I want to be you know, careful and show honor and everything to these things, because, you know, there's so many things out there besides just demons, and I don't want to tread on the wrong ground or treat them wrong. A lot of times they've been in a place way longer than we have, and I don't know. I've always kind of cared. I've always respected the things beyond the veil. You know, it means a lot to me. I've seen people have really, really bad luck when they go to cemetery and places and they disrespect it, you know. Anyways, I know that's my first one, and let me see. I have like even written them down because I've got quite a few, and I want to fit them all maybe 10-15 minute videos so I can publish maybe one every whatever day, 2, 3, whatever. Another one I wanted to talk about, since I'm only 8 minutes in, is, was it a gargoyle spirit demon? What was it? Was it a Mothman? See, I didn't realize that till recently, but a lot of people that had said that, so I read this, you know, maybe a year or two ago. A lot of people that see these things kind of consider them in the Mothman category, which means I'm like, oh my God. So not only have I seen spirits, but I'm eventually going to get to like a Bigfoot story and things. And if I've seen another cryptid that's like a Mothman, and thankfully I had witnesses. Because, you know, when you tell people all the stuff you see, they're like, you're just some crazy kooky lady on the internet is lonely. And I'm like, I had witnesses. I had a whole bunch of Mexican kids witness this. And yes, that's politically incorrect to say. And, you know, when I dated a Spanish guy in Galveston, you don't say Mexican. When I lived in Midland, Texas, and West Texas, they would get mad. This is in the 90s, by the way. If I said they were Spanish or Hispanic or anything, they would flat out tell me, like, just because I speak Spanish don't mean I'm from Spain, bitch. You know, so like I called them what they wanted to be called. Thank you. I was babysitting a whole bunch of them, and my parents were having a New Year's Eve party, and I was the oldest one, so I got stuck babysitting. And about 14 kids, all ages, and then my brother, and the little girl that I babysat. There's 2 sisters that babysat all the time. And they started running towards this thing. Okay. What it was is there was this strange house that we never saw anyone living in. It was empty. It was vacant. It was for sale, and they eventually took it off for sale. No one ever lived there. It was empty, and this was a really nice neighborhood. Um, uh, it would anyway, end of a cul-de-sac. Pristine upper class kind of setting, and this chimney just had smoke come out of it. And we're like, hey, look, I guess someone's finally living in there, and the smoke just kept coming out, and out of the smoke floated this thing. And that's when my brother and this little girl started running towards it. So of course me and the older sister were like, oh, we're not gonna leave whatever that is. So we start running at it too. And at first you just see like this, it's like you can tell it's something floating out of the smoke. The rest of the chimney smoke just keeps going up like normal. This thing, it scared the pee out of me. Like, it had red glowing eyes. And it looked exactly like a gargoyle. Like, it was grinning. And it had like these chiseled thick lips. It had pointy ears. It had little claws. And it was all curled up and had little wings. And it looked just like a gargoyle that was sitting on the corner of a building, just floating. Never changed the shape of his face, just smiling. Just kept floating until it eventually floated away. All the other kids started running towards it too. We all just stood there and just watched it. This was on New Year's Eve, like in 1995 or something. And I was like, is this like bad luck? We're going to usher in the new year with this creepy thing? So anyway, I know I have one other story I can think of from West Texas right now. It happened in New Mexico. And I think I will do that for my next video. See you guys later. I love you and I bless you until next time.